Okay, so welcome back to the restoration of my 93 Toyota Celica. The next thing I wanted to do was to fix the control that I found. This is the one that I found in a donor car from a junkyard, and as you can see, it was working perfectly. So I bought it and brought it back home, and um, this is a mechanical thing nowadays. Newer cars, I understand, this is all these controls are electronic, so uh, you have to deal with those wires. And one of those wires I'm talking about was attached into this lever in the um, engine area. So you have to detach it so that you can um, detach inside of the car the control panel where the cold heat control is located. So once you disconnect that one, you can pull from the control panel inside of the car. And as you can see, it was a big mess. But that is the blue cable, the blue wire I was talking about. That is controlled by that control button that I was talking about. So that is what broke those gears in there. They're plastic, and a couple of Celicas that I saw in the junkyard, they were having the same problem. But I finally found one that was in a good shape, so that's the one I bought, and my intention was to replace it and see if it could be done. It was very intensive, a lot of plastic screws and things that you had to remove. It was done. I could manage to do it finally, but it was a lot of work, especially because I don't know how the connections are in the car and what is it that you can afford not to disconnect. Always trying to bypass several things in order to make it less intensive, but it was sometimes there were things that you have to remove. And I'm sure many of you, if you've been working with cars, you can identify with that. You try to minimize the effort, no, not because you're lazy, but because it's maybe unnecessary. But sometimes you just can't help it. So those are the two controls. The one that I brought from the junkyard, and the other one, the original one that was broken. That had the gears, the plastic gears broken. So you have to remove all those connections for the controls so that you can release it. But that is how it works. Those gears were not working properly, even though I tried to fix it, using glue and several things. But it was not working properly. It was not, pulling from the wires properly. So it was not really accomplishing what it was supposed to do. So after I pulled the dashboard, that control panel area, and disconnected everything, then I had to do some more work inside because it was easier for me. So the space is not as reduced as if you're working inside of the car. So I brought it inside of the house and started to work on a table where I was more comfortable. And there's a lot of screws and a lot of things that you have to compare so that you can make it right. If you have a GoPro, by the way, you can control it with the GoPro app on your phone, and that's a pretty nice feature. Now, this was broken. This was a piece that was broken for a different control. Uh, so it is hard to find. They are too hard to find, especially because this is a very old car. So I decided to glue it, and it's working perfectly so far. Hopefully, it won't break down the road, and it's gonna hold. But it was, very simple solution that sometimes you have to go with. So here I was comparing both parts and passing the parts of the donor piece into the original one, changing whatever I needed to change, and keeping what it was working in working order, working condition. So that is the piece I'm talking about, and that is the control. That is how it works. Those are the gears that were causing the problem. So I lubed the new ones with some grease that I purchased to repair my kitchenette, my wife's kitchenette one time. I don't see why it wouldn't be working for this purpose too. So I kind of like these controls the old-fashioned way. They are wires, they are mechanical, nothing really electronic, and even though they break, you know, you can repair them or replace them easily. Well, I shouldn't say easily. I should say you can find the parts rather than easily. It was not easy at all. It was a lot of work though. There's another control that I had a hard time to get out, but I finally got it out, and there was no problem with that one. So I that's one of the pieces I kept from the original module. So that's how it goes. You have to insert it, and it goes with a couple of screws into that module, and then you have to reattach everything back. That was the piece I was talking about that it was broken. I'm not sure if I broke it or if I saw that it was broken when I opened the you know the panel. But anyway, I fixed it with the super glue. It's the Harbor Freight cheap one. I think I bought it for $1. You know, three for $1 or 99 cents, something like that. So once it was replaced, I was making sure that it was operational. There was also a clip that needed to be reattached in there. And the hard thing about this is not really put this together, is dismantling and put it back in the car. That is the really hard part, with all the connections and everything that is so complicated. So after I was done, I just decided to clean it a little bit, since it was detached, and it ended up looking pretty good, and everything worked, as you will see, worked out, fortunately, because after all that work, if it was not to work, you know this is one of those things. You can drive the car without that, and manually move the lever that opens and closes the compartments inside of the dashboard. But of course, I'm restoring this car to the best of my abilities. That doesn't mean that it's a professional restoration, but you want things to work. Basically that's what you want in this type of restoration, where you don't know, you don't have any training or anything like that. So that's the wire that goes into the engine bay and opens and closes. I think it's the heat core, or one of those things. I don't know. they go, and I know that they work now. Whatever it is that they open and close. So that's how it operates. It operates both wires at the same time. I don't know if this is a Toyota feature, or in older cars, or most older cars work like that. I never had the chance to open a dashboard and investigate like that in any other car. And as I said, I know the newer ones have electronic controls, so things are much different. So after reconnecting all the connections, and everything was put in place, not only everything worked, but some of the dashboard lights that in the other module were not working. Now with the newer one, they were working, and I was so happy to see that everything working the way it should be working, and that is so satisfactory to see all that working as it should. The next thing I wanted to do was to work on the automatic antenna. I know these days antennas are just a little, stripe, and nothing as complicated as this. But this is how the car was designed, and it has so much charm. And to see that antenna going up and down like that. I don't know if they make those antennas like that anymore. To be honest with you, I haven't seen it, and I don't think any cars have that feature anymore. But I wanted it to work, and since it was there, so I got another one from the junkyard. And of course, these things you really can't tell whether they are working in working order or not, because they have, like, the antennas it has like a long plastic tail that it goes into that little circle, and it goes as a spiral, and that's how it goes up and down when the motor makes it move. So I really didn't know if this was gonna work, so I replaced it. I took the pieces, the same thing as I did with the other module, and once I installed everything, I had my daughter push the button, and look what happened. Gonna be it was not gonna work anymore, but after I reattached it, it was working perfectly, and it's really cool feature that I love from this car. And now I have it working. It's been working for a couple of months, no problem at all. And once you turn the radio on, that's what happens. It goes up, and when you turn it off, it goes down. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode.